Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Christ the Lord. Again. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Christ the Lord. And if we don't, His people, if we don't, who will? We don't live in a society and in a world that adores Him. But the only reason they don't really adore Him the way we do is because they don't know Him the way we do. And I'm convinced, I'm thoroughly convinced that if we would live Him and example Him and speak Him and sing Him and share Him, and above everything else, worship Him, they too can be convinced to adore Him. If we can't love Him, they certainly won't. And you know, Pastor Chuck and I were having this conversation today. Sometimes in the face of a tragedy like we've experienced this week, it's hard sometimes. The first feeling that I had was of sorrow for all of those children and the others who lost their lives and their families who will never, ever, 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 ever be the same because of what happened in just a very few minutes yesterday in Connecticut. And then I began to feel anger toward the person who couldn't have a heart, because a person with a heart couldn't do a thing like that. And then honestly, I got a little angry with God. I actually prayed and I said, God, was there not something somewhere that could have kept this from happening? Was there something somewhere that could have kept this terrible tragedy from taking place? All of those children and all of those others would still be here today if something had happened along the way to prevent this and to stop this. And frankly, I didn't get an answer that I was satisfied with. But I don't have a choice but to trust Him. All I can do is trust Him. And I've had some cynical friends. And you know, in our community, there are a whole lot of cynics and a whole lot of angry people. And I had some of them immediately get in touch with me and ask me where my God was. And I didn't know what to tell them other than to say, I'm praying that He's with those who survive so He can comfort them and give them strength in this terrible, terrible time. But we, His people who believe in Him. And listen, our faith is not blind. We don't believe in a blind God who's nameless and faceless and powerless somewhere. We believe in a God who has the power to save and redeem. We do believe in a God who has the ability and the power to stop terrible tragedies like that happened yesterday. But He's also wiser than us and sees far farther than we do, and much deeper than we do. And I love what my friend Tony Campolo says. He says, Kenny, one of the things that we have to remember is that God always lives in the now. God always lives in the moment. And it doesn't matter if that moment was 1,000 years ago, or 10 seconds ago, or this moment, or 1,000 years from now. God is present in that moment. God is always there. Therefore, God is never ever taken by surprise when something like that happens. So we, His people, who know Him and know what He can do, we're the ones who are left to worship and adore Him. Amen. Pastor Chuck, you can come on up, but I want us to sing as you do.